So, are you planning a trip anytime soon? Well, you're in the right place. In this explainer, we're going to learn 21 essential travel phrasal verbs. But we're not just going to memorize a boring list. Instead, we're going to follow a traveler's story on her trip to Spain. Let's get started. First question right out of the gate, and it's already our first phrasal verb. You know that desire to travel? It almost always starts with this feeling, doesn't it? The need to get away, to just escape your daily routine. So let's follow our traveler as she starts to plan her big escape. You know, every great trip really begins long before you even leave the house. So, this first part of our story, it's all about the planning and that incredible excitement that builds up before you even think about packing your bags. So we're going to kick things off with two verbs that just perfectly capture that pre-travel feeling. Look forward to and get away. Okay, so what does it really mean to look forward to something? Well, it's all about that feeling of pure excitement for something that's coming up in the future. And the key word here is definitely pleasure. You're not just waiting, you are eagerly and happily waiting for it to happen. And here we go. Our traveler's story is starting to unfold. She is so excited for her trip, she's looking forward to it. And why? Well, it's because she needs to get away from the miserable cold weather. See how that works? One verb for the excitement and one for the escape. It's perfect. All right, time for a super quick check-in with you. Imagine it's been raining all week. You'd say, I want to blank from here and go somewhere sunny. What do you think? A, B, or C? And if you guessed B, get away, you are absolutely right. You want to escape that rain. Okay, so our bags are packed and we've made it to the airport. Now this is where things can get a little crazy, right? And it's also where a whole new set of phrasal verbs comes into play to describe that step-by-step journey from the main entrance all the way to the gate. Now, the cool thing about these is how they map out the process. First, you check in for your flight. Then, you drop off your bags. You leave them at the counter. And finally, you have to go through security, literally passing from one side to the other. So once you're through all that security, you've usually got some time to kill before your flight. And this is where you might drop by a shop, which just means visiting for a short time. And you might just look around. That's just another way of saying you're browsing, not really planning on buying anything. And yep, this is exactly what our traveler is planning to do. After all the official business is done, it's time for a quick, casual visit to the duty-free shop. She's just gonna drop by and look around. Okay, let's test that airport sequence. Imagine this. There were a ton of people at immigration, so it took a long time to... What? What do you think? The answer is C, go through. It took forever to pass through that checkpoint. Phew! We've made it through that airport maze, and now it's time for the main event, the flight itself. Let's take a look at the phrasal verbs you're going to need once you're actually on board the plane. Now these two, they're perfect opposites. That amazing moment the plane leaves the ground, that's when it takes off. And when it finally lands at your destination, it touches down. Simple as that. One for departure, one for arrival. Okay, this is a super useful rule, so listen up. For big public transportation, like planes, buses, trains, you get on and you get off. But for smaller private transport, like a car or a taxi, you get in and you get out. It's a tricky little grammar point, but seeing it like this makes it so much easier. This is something I think we've all done on a plane, right? You're not planning on having a deep sleep, but you find yourself just drifting. That's dozing off. It's that light, totally unintentional nap you take while sitting in your seat. All right, picture this in your mind. The plane is speeding up, going faster and faster down the runway, and then what happens? Did you say it took off? Yes, that's exactly right. It lifted up into the air. We have touched down in sunny Spain. Woo! But the journey isn't over. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's really just beginning. So let's look at the phrasal verbs you're going to need now that you've arrived at your destination. So here's the typical arrival sequence. First, you've got to head to baggage claim to pick up your luggage, collect it. Then you might need to stand on the curb and wave your arm to get a taxi's attention. That's called flagging down a cab. And finally, you arrive at your hotel to check in and get your room key. Now we get to the best part of vacation. You might stay up late, meaning you go to bed way later than you normally would. And what's the amazing result of that? Well, you get to sleep in, waking up late with no alarm clock. It's the best! Vacation is all about new experiences, isn't it? You'll probably want to eat out at some cool local restaurants instead of cooking, and you'll definitely want to hang out in some charming cafes, just relaxing and soaking it all in. Okay, here's a really practical one for you. Out in the countryside, there are no bus stops. So what do? You just have to flag down a passing bus. That's right. You signal with your hand for it to stop for you. Well, all good things must come to an end. Our traveler's amazing time in Spain is almost over. So let's cover the phrasal verbs for the final days of a trip. So here's how the trip might end. Our traveler is starting to run out of money, which means she has very little left. So for her last day, she decides to just chill out by the pool. Just relax. And that's all before it's time to pay the final bill and formally check out of the hotel. And there you have it. 21 phrasal verbs, all woven into one single travel story, from that first feeling of excitement to the final checkout. You've now got the language to describe pretty much every step of a journey. So I guess the only question left is, where will you go next?